Hey, what's up, Declan? This is going to be a quick demo video for you for your Graflex. You bought this over a year ago from me when I was selling these on Etsy. That's how I started out doing lightsabers, actually, I started out doing these Graflex kits because they were easy to get from the custom saber shop. These are the old Parks kits. I think this is a 2.1. And I just did Graflexes, man. And I would buy these kits, install them, put them on my Etsy store, and I would just keep doing that over and over again and keep on practicing. And I probably did like 60 of these guys before I ever touched a different style hilt. So this was a blast from the past for me to see my work, and a lot of things have changed since then. So when you sent this to me, you only sent it in for speaker repair. And then I got to looking at it on the inside of it, and there's a lot of things that I've changed since this went out to you. First of all, this had an Etsy chassis in it. So I bought this original chassis from some store on Etsy, which is fine, you know, it's not something I would do today. I had a recharge port in this guy, so a static battery. I would never do that today because this fits a removable battery, which I always prefer to do now. I wasn't designing or printing back then, so I was just grabbing whatever chassis I could to fit in these Graflexes, and I would install them. On top of that, this was a CFX board chassis, but then it was not a snap fit. So I had a piece of electrical tape back here holding the board down. And then I also used silicone wire. I was looking at that earlier too. All my wire was silicone. I don't use silicone wire anymore. I use PTFE for everything. For me, it's just preferred. You know, some people use silicone wire and they do a really good job with it. I just prefer PTFE and on all my builds across the board. And then also for the speaker, when you sent this in for a speaker repair, I noticed that I put a 28mm premium speaker in this guy. I don't know if I may not have just known the difference back then. I don't think that was the industry standard because I've only been doing this for, I don't know, year and a half or so. But this Graflex needed a bass speaker. So what I ended up doing, rather than just do the speaker fix that you asked me for, I went in here and I did this. I did a complete overhaul on this guy for you to represent the work that I can do today. So hopefully when you get this back, you'll like what I did to it. It is a completely different saber from what you sent me a few days ago. You did have, I had originally set up the activation and the auxiliary in the clamp card, but you wanted a one button setup in the red button here. So that's what I did. It's a one button setup for CFX. We did retain your glass eye here for blade retention. So there's TCSS 7-pin connector in there for NeoPixel, and I did reuse that. But what I did is I took it out, I took all the wires off, I cleaned up all the pads, and I rewired it with PTFE wire, and then put it back in. But we are using your glass eye for blade retention. I did glue down your clamp card now, so it's a non-functional clamp card, but it won't fall out on you. If you had this and it didn't have anything underneath it, and you flip this clamp up like you have to do to unscrew this handle, that card would fall right out. So because it's now for aesthetics, it's glued in there. So you flip up this clamp, you unscrew this handle, it pops out, and here's the new chassis. So here's the old chassis, the old Etsy chassis. And then here's the one I gave you. I designed and printed this out. It says Graflex right here in Arabesh. I gave you a Jedi symbol sign. There is a Smuggler's Outpost logo right here because I am now a member of Smuggler's Outpost. I like to put those on my chassis when I can. It says Solo Sabers over here in Arabesh. You now have a 28mm bass speaker, and this thing sounds amazing. And then I replaced your board. It ended up not being the speaker that was the problem. I think it was the board. So I was having a little bit of difficulty. The board was old, it looked a little beat up. There were some resistors kind of cocked over on their soldering joints. I didn't like that. It begged for problems down the road, even if it worked when I were to to rewire it. So I just got rid of it. Put you in a brand new board. You're updated for your firmware. I took your sound fonts that you had on your old board. I put them over to the new board, and we just overhauled this guy. Now it has a removable battery. So now that spring in there, that's going to be the negative side of your battery. And I will be sending you this guy right here. We talked about it. You'll have to go get a charger for it, but this is fully charged. This being the negative side of your battery right here, and that button top, that's your positive end. So don't ever put your battery in backwards. We'll throw a battery in here. We're going to throw the handle back on. Just keep screwing it on until it tightens up on you. Then we'll clamp this down. We'll turn it on. Now we're on a sound font currently that doesn't have smooth swing. So we're going to get to one of yours.
Sound bank selection. Youngling.
This is General Light.
Crystal focus. Audio play.
SD card system menu. Exit menu.
We'll stop here. We'll just hold the button down. So what I did to get to that, I should have told you while I was doing it. While the blade is off, to get to your sound font selection, you just hold the button down. Keep holding it down until you hear that. Here, we'll just do it now. We'll hold this down until we hear this.
Sound bank selection.
When you hear sound bank selection, let go of the button. And then you just tap the button to cycle through all your sound fonts. It'll go one way, you'll get to the last one, it'll cycle back, and then you'll start over again. But when you find one that you want, just hold the button down. Now we're on that sound font, right? So we can hit activation. Nice smooth swing. We just tap now for blaster deflects. We'll hold it to turn it off. Now to get to your sound fonts, or your soundtrack on your font, you can do it in two different ways. I like to double click the activation button. Some people will just like to hold it down for a second until it starts playing. Pretty loud. And then just double tap it again to turn it off. You gotta be quick with the double tap though. That's why some people prefer just to hold it down. But we'll put a blade in. This takes a 7/8 inch NeoPixel blade. I only have a test blade for 7/8 inch, so that's what we're gonna use today. So we'll throw this in. Make sure that the glass eye is out of your way so you can get your blade down, and then tighten back down your glass eye. That's your blade retention. I also set, let me turn that off. So I also messed around with your config a little bit to where you can do, you can change your blade effects and your color on the fly. So what I'm gonna do now is we'll turn the blade on and I'll show you how to do that. First, we're gonna do blade effects so that we can get it to a solid blade, and then we'll do blade color.
Sound bank selection.
Now we wanna hold down our auxiliary and twist our wrist, but keep the button held down.
Spectrum.
Keep holding it.
Blade profiles.
Blade profiles. Now you can twist the hilt and it will cycle through different blade effects. We're gonna try to find a solid one. It's here somewhere. That's a pretty good one. When you find one that you like, just tap a button. You'll hear that noise. Now we've got a solid red blade. Now to change the color, we're gonna do that again. We're gonna hold the button down and twist our wrist, but then this time let the button go.
Spectrum.
Spectrum. Now again, you can twist the hilt and just cycle through the colors. Say we wanted a green. We'll find a green right there and tap a button. just like that. So now when I turn this on, I've got a solid blade I've got a solid green blade. Get your flash on flash. Blade lockup can be tricky on this. You have to hold down the button and hit the saber at the same time to get blade lockup. Just like that. And we'll turn it off. And we'll take the blade out. So hopefully you can tell the difference between that the bass speaker that's in it now and the premium speaker that was in it before. I know Lando recently did a video on different kinds of speakers and sound resonance, and he was spot on, actually. I always enjoy watching his stuff. The dude does his homework. I tend to learn some things also, and I do this for a living. But there is a definite difference between a 28mm bass speaker and a premium speaker. So hopefully you like the sound here. To take your battery out, you just take your handle off, and from the positive side, you can pop it right out with your finger. This chassis, or this board now, I make these to where the board is a press fit down into the chassis. There's no tape back here. It's a very tight snap fit, and so that you can pop the board up in the future if you need to, but then you can snap it back down into place, and it's meant to snap down, and it holds very tightly. So now that we've taken the battery out, we'll go ahead and throw this handle back on, screw it back on. We'll lock it down, and that's your Graflex. I hope that came out the way you liked. I do appreciate you sending this back to me and reaching out as soon as you had a problem, because I like to take care of those when they come up, even if it's been over a year. And it was my pleasure to modify this guy to represent just a little of something that I do today instead of yesteryear. All right, thanks, buddy.